Hello everyone, welcome to East Brunswick High School and Channel 8's coverage of high school wrestling. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Cancro. We're here for tonight's matchup between the East Brunswick Bears and the Perth Amboy Panthers. The Bears come into tonight's match with a disappointing finish in the GMC tournament where they finished in 14th place. On the other hand, the Perth Amboy Panthers had a very surprising 4th place finish where they had a very good result from some of their middleweights. The Bears tonight will be hurt a little bit by the loss of 3 starters. They have Larry Benson at 189, Tommy Corio, who was a 3rd place finisher in the GMCs, the only place winner for the Bears, out, and as well James Gagnon at 160 pounds will be out of tonight's match. So it should be a very tough one for the Bears with some people filling in at some key weight classes for them. We'll be back with senior night activities. This is senior night here at East Brunswick High School in a few minutes.
Ladies, welcome to East Brunswick High School, home of the Bears. Tonight, as is done traditionally at East Brunswick, we will honor the senior members of our wrestling team and their parents. We would like to honor these members for their commitment and dedication to the wrestling program. They have provided us with many enjoyable memories over the past years. Surely they will be missed, and we wish them much success in their future endeavors. And now, the seniors are Dave Muller and parents Dave and Joanne. Pete Stanek and parents Victor and Irina. Whoops. Watch that, Matt, as you come out. Mike McManus and parents Henry and Myra. Larry Benson and parents Jan and Luann. Russell and Philip Leota with parents George and Phyllis. Rob McKinley and parents Dave McKinley and Debbie Anson. Tom Crail and parents Robert and Jane. Lindsay Fleischauer and parents Gary and Aline. Jenna Cancro and parents Bob and Jan. One more time, for the many years of dedication, hard work, effort, late meals or no meals, congratulations and best wishes to both parents and our wrestlers.
We are back at East Brunswick High School's gymnasium, and we're just set for the toss of the coin. I'm Bob Cancro. I will be joined a little bit later on by Athletic Director Frank Knoppenberg, and we'll be talking a little bit about East Brunswick sports. With this just about the closing match of the season for all the teams, we have what looks to be all the seniors out there for East Brunswick. Going to run right down the group: Phil Leota, Rob McKinley, Mike McManus, Tom Crail, Larry Benson. Larry Benson not in uniform, as you can see out there. He had a problem with his medial collateral ligament. I believe I got that correct. Our official tonight is going to be Dick Smith. And up first for the Bears will be Tony Ruperto, a sophomore, and he'll be going up against Maverick Fredericks, who was a freshman. Tony comes into this match with a 3-6 record. And Frederick's at 1-1 for the Panthers. They feel each other out in the middle of the mat, looking for some wrist control. Little pop under there by Tony, no success on that. And they go out of bounds in the first 20 seconds of the first period. I mentioned before that the Bears come in with after a very disappointing GMC tournament, there was only one place winner for them, and that was a third place by Tommy Corio, and he is out of this lineup tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But that's a 13-7 record that will not be in the lineup for the Bears this evening. We are here at 103 pounds. Fredericks from Perth Amboy. Little spin around there, spin around, and dumped over by Tony. He's got the takedown, but no back points. Didn't hold him down there. Of course, in wrestling, for back points to be earned, you need a count of at least 2, with both shoulders within 4 inches of the mat, or one shoulder down in a 45-degree angle with the other. Ruperto controlling up top. He's got the far wrist. He comes around on the near side and moving back and forth. We're almost in the last 30 seconds of the first period, and a 2-0 lead for Tony Ruperto for the Bears. He's got him cranked over with that half Nelson. And you can see the arm of Dick Smith counting, so there are going to be back points earned here by Tony Ruperto. He's still got the half in, but he was there, and he's going to earn a couple. With just 12 seconds remaining, Tony with a cradle, a little dangerous as he rolls him through. He's got him over, and a fall. Tony Ruperto with the pin at 1 minute, 53 seconds. And something that the Bears have not always been able to do this year, get off to a quick start and a 6-0 lead in this match against the Panthers of Perth Amboy. We move up to 112 pounds. And for the Bears, Nick Yanazzo, a freshman starter, going up against sophomore Dennis Mendoza. The Panthers are not that strong down below. They have some so-so records in the first 2 or 3 weight classes. They get a little bit stronger as they hit 125 and up into those middle weights. But Nick Yanazzo, going very aggressively, gets the takedown, and they go out of bounds. So in just the first 8 seconds of this match, at 112, Nick Yanazzo taking control early. And Mendoza gets out for an easy 1 there. Put some pressure down on Nick's head, and they got him out. And quickly gets that ankle pick, sweeps it, very nicely done. But Nick trying to come around, and he's got that crossface. He's got to free his leg up. He gets the reversal. He's still got the whizzer in, which is preventing the control from going over, but as he lost that arm coming out, that gave the reversal over to Dennis Mendoza, and in a back-and-forth match, a 5-4 lead for the Panthers' Dennis Mendoza. Trying to work that half Nelson from his knees, which is not always a wise move. He's almost clasped in there. Just a minute to go in this first period at 112 pounds. Quick sit out by Nick, pops his head. He's got Mendoza over for the reversal and a back count. There will be back points in here. 44 seconds remaining in the first period. Nick Yanazzo trying to crank over his opponent. He's got that far arm pulled underneath and is trying to lift. He's got to step over, watch his own balance, and a fall. My goodness, what a turnaround. At 1 minute, 29 seconds of the first period, the Bears jump out to a 12-0 lead as Nick Yanazzo picks up his 4th win of the season. And it brings up senior Phil Leota for the Bears. And over on the other side, coming in the red uniform for the Panthers, Jose Rodriguez. 2 quick pins, first period pins. Again, not something the Bears have had all that much of this year. They have had difficulty scoring and certainly have not scored a lot of pins along the way. Both wrestlers tying up. They free themselves. Quick shot in on the knee by Rodriguez, countered by Phil Leota. The lighter of the two Leota brothers. He comes around for a takedown. Bears have come out very good. This is a senior night, and if anything, the seniors really should, and all the teams should be looking for a little more aggressiveness than they had. I think they were very disappointed by their finish at the GMCs. A little sloppy there by Phil, and he's going to lose control there, and an escape by Rodriguez. The Bears certainly had to be disappointed by some of the results, by a lot of the results. Certainly not many wrestlers getting past the first night of wrestling. Only one place winner. And in all honesty, one of the Phil has that knee, and strong counter by Rodriguez. He's got a treetop that, goes for the lace, and they go out of bounds in a neutral position. Okay, I've just been corrected. Bears had 2 place winners, my mistake. I missed the other one when I was going through my notes. And Mike McManus also was a place winner. Phil Leota's got the takedown and has cranked over Rodriguez. You can see about how far he is. He's got 14 seconds in this period. He's got to lift the leg as he does there to crank him up. Phil may run out of time. He has a 4-1 lead right now. He's going to pick up back points. 3 more. And as we go into the second period, Phil Leota at 119 pounds with a 7-1 lead. Jose Rodriguez of Amboy with the choice. He takes the bottom position on defense. Bears have come out smoking this evening. Phil's still in control. They may call a stalemate pretty soon here because nobody's going anyplace, and Dick Smith does just that. When neither wrestler can gain any kind of movement or advantage to improve their position and without having to give up their own position, the referee will call a stalemate. We've got a caution there, and that's a caution on the bottom on Jose Rodriguez. Panthers are coached by Mike Giordano. Mike is in his 8th year as the head coach of the Panthers and has developed some very tough, gritty kids, as evidenced by their finish in the GMCs. You know, Perth Amboy is not certainly, he's got the stack, Phil does. No points were earned there, though. Phil leans over, he's got to watch his own balance. They were about to give points, he backed off on it, but he does give the escape. He was about to give a reversal to Phil as they came over, or rather to Rodriguez as they came over, but as it turns out, Phil just regained it very easily. Sometimes you have to wait those calls out and give him a little more time to finish through. So with that escape by Rodriguez, Phil Leota maintains a 7-2 lead now with just over a minute to go in the second period at 119 pounds. I was saying before, Mike Giordano was the head coach of the Panthers, and he's built a tough program, a 4th place finish by the Panthers, and not too many people would have expected that. They finished considerably behind Old Bridge, but just ahead of Edison. And certainly those 2 programs are top-notch programs in the county. Perth Amboy not known as a wrestling power. Phil, a little bit loose there, steps across nicely, maintains some control, barely enough to hang on for the for control here in the, or rather I should say there was no control. There was this movement out of bounds. I lost track of things there for a second. Phil pushing out there, being the aggressor, and with somebody backing up like that, you do start to think, well, is he backing up? Is he avoiding contact? And that could mean a
a warning for stalling. On the other hand, if the wrestler who's doing the pushing is the aggressor without really shooting, then that could be a stall as well, because you're preventing the other man from competing. They are tied up. Phil working upper body a lot. And not with success as they go out of bounds with 14 seconds remaining in this second period. In the third period, Phil will have choice of a position. And in all likelihood, he probably will choose bottom. That's a warning for stalling. As we're saying, Rodriguez had been backing up. And the warning goes there. They slide out of bounds with just 3 seconds remaining. And the second period at 119 comes to a close. And making me look very good, Phil Leota takes the bottom position. Phil with a 7-2 lead as we begin the third period. Quick start and a quick stop. Something happened there, but they're going to give a second caution. Here's a first caution to Rodriguez. Phil tried a quick stand-up, then tried the switch. Rodriguez stepping over, and Phil exposing his back there for a second, but no control and no points. Rodriguez has his leg scissored and is trying to turn, trying to pick up that inside leg. Phil came out very quickly in the first period, jumped out to a 2-0 lead on that first takedown, was able to come back with a few more points in the first period, but has not scored since. Rodriguez only with 2 escapes to his credit. Phil stands. And they go out of bounds as Rodriguez tries to trip. Since that opening period, again, a lot of movement, but not a lot of real action. Phil with that stand-up, tries to get the wrist control. And working his way out of bounds. They've got locked hands. That's a tough call, but I've seen it more lately. Wrestlers simply forget to let go. They come back onto the mat. Their locked hands around the legs. That's a violation. That is a technical violation in 1 point. That's Mike Giordano over there being explained the call by referee Dick Smith. It is now 8-2. Phil scoring points first time in a while, brought back down. Sounds a lot worse than it really was there. As he came up and as he was trying to crank him down, Rodriguez threw that half in without all that much success. So again, after that initial flurry, things have slowed down considerably in this bout at 119 pounds. The Bears with a 12-0 lead on the team score with 2 quick pins, 2 first period pins by Tony Ruperto and Nick Yanazzo. Rodriguez has been able to maintain control of Phil, although he's stood up a lot, but not able to do much more than that. Phil trying to peel those hands, trying to break away. And he is going to get a point, Phil is, for stalling. When a man stands up, you must work to bring him down, and the referee did not deem that action very aggressive. So Phil now with a 9-2 lead. That's a 7-point margin. 1 more point if he can squeak one out and then hold that lead is a major decision. So an escape right here would be very critical for Phil. And he's working those hands, trying to get those free. Ooh, just almost slid out, ran out of room. Rodriguez over-aggressive there, popped over the top. Phil almost backed out, but there was no change in control. I think that was an illegal start because the man did not have a knee on the mat. Rodriguez did not. Phil trying to peel it off. He's standing up very easily, but he just can't finish it off. And a quick whistle there. That's a very aggressive call by Dick Smith. Now Glenn Pazinko's coming over because in the violation chart it is 1-1-2. The third violation of any kind is a 2 points awarded to your opponent. He had locking hands, he had the stall, and now the second stall. Gave him the optional start. That gives Phil an escape and an 11-2 lead. That's 9 points. Now considering the fact that neither wrestler did much on their feet in that second period, I'm not sure about Rodriguez's strategy there. We'll see how that pans out. Phil being aggressive. That was a good call by Glenn Pazinko to come over and question it. Nobody said anything about it. I didn't think about it, but as I said in the penalty chart, 1-1-2, that gave Phil the margin he needed right there. No control yet. Phil's got to watch his weight, and he comes around for the takedown. Good work by Phil Yoda. And it is 14-2. There was an inadvertent whistle there. That can easily happen. Officials usually work with the whistle in their mouth. And what he's saying is that he anticipated a full Nelson, but they never came up. And again, officials will do that too. You work with the whistle in your mouth all the time. You're ready to blow the whistle very quickly. And he simply anticipated and stopped the match. We are coming to the close of this match. Phil Yoda with a 14-2 lead, and he will have the victory. A major decision for the Bears and a 16-0 lead as they finish up the first three bouts. Nice work by Phil Yoda, finishing up 14-2 over the Panthers' Jose Rodriguez. It takes us to 125, and at this point, the Panthers start to pick up some steam. Julio Arango at 12-7, a sixth-place finisher at the GMCs over this past weekend against sophomore Chris Yanazzo. You see Chris's left arm, his elbow, taped up. He hyperextended that just before the GMCs. And that certainly is a difficult thing to work with. Got a lot of pain there. Hyperextension, if you ever had that, is very uncomfortable. Real nice high hook. He's got to keep him in bounds. He's got it locked up very nicely. Brought that knee right up to his chest, and a takedown for Chris Yanazzo. It would be very advantageous for the Bears to pick up as many points as they can, because the Bears are having a night in which they are seeing a lot of replacements filling in at various weights. As we said, Larry Benson is out at 189, Tom Corio out at 140, Jimmy Gagnon at 160, and their replacements, while certainly good wrestlers, are not experienced individuals, and as a result, the Bears will have some weaknesses at those spots. Again, Tommy Corio not on the lineup tonight. Chris Yanazzo here still has control. Arango was able to get up fairly easily. We may get a stalemate out of this too if there's no movement here. Chris has to lift that up and try to get an angle behind. He's given him a warning for stalling. Again, that is not unusual, although I should say it's not inappropriate, or it's not called that often. You've got to work to bring your man back to the mat. And if nothing else, Dick Smith is being consistent. At 119, when Jose Rodriguez did not have the ability to bring Phil Yoda down, he was hit for stalling a couple of times. Chris Yanazzo hit there the same way.
There you go. Now, Chuck, there, now come on. Chris, you gotta get up. Chris, get up on your toes. Come on, you're not making a catch weight. You keep coming over.
A very assertive statement by Glenn Pazinko. He is not happy that Chris is not up on his toes and driving the man down. 42 seconds remaining here in the first period of the 125-pound weight class. Now Chris has to come outside and work. He's got arms across the body. Now he's got to bring him down. He's caught in that situation. where he was before. He is going to get hit for stalling. That again is exactly what happened before. We're going to have a question by Glenn Pazinko, though.
Out of bounds. I didn't. They went out of bounds. I believe.
Glenn is indicating he feels there's an inconsistency as far as the stall call there. I'm not saying I don't think he's arguing the fact as much that Smith is calling the type of stall, but he feels that that situation was different from the first one that Chris was called on. So it's 2-1 with that stalling call against Chris Iannazzo. He is working on top, and we're approaching 10 seconds remaining here in the first period. When we go to the second, very shortly. That's a good move by Chris to break him down when he tried that trip, because I'm sure that, well, Mike Giordano was looking for it. And as they went off the mat, it looks like Julio Arango hurt himself. The side mat, the safety mat on the side slipped away. He may have just stretched himself out a little bit. Meantime, on the other side of the mat, Glenn Pazinko doing some demonstrations on assistant coach Andy Scanlon to give a better idea to Chris what exactly he wants him to do. He'd like him to get up on his toes and drive into him more, break him down. There's just 1 second remaining in this period. So at this point, Chris just has to chop in an arm, get a tight waist, and we will go to the second period where Chris should have choice of position. 2-1. Chris Iannazzo at 125 pounds here in the second period. No, I made a mistake. It is Arango's choice, but Chris does get it as Arango defers, and Chris takes bottom. He's had a little bit of difficulty on the top, so not a bad idea to take the bottom position, see if we can pick up a few points right off the bat here. He's got that T-bar, lifts that, pulls the arm through the crotch, trying to bar it back into that stack. Chris flops back and forth, no control there, so there are no points. He's got to break that arm free. Arango very physical. You can see very strong upper body, drives Chris off. And they come back to the center circle. 32 seconds gone here in the second period at 125. Arango lost to Joe Mastrogiovanni from Piscataway in the 5th place match at the GMCs.
Like what? Is it all right?
They come back in the center. Interestingly, Arango mounts on the right side. Chris has that bad left arm, but he's not working it, as a lot of wrestlers might. Chris with that switch comes around for the reversal. Nice standing switch by Chris Iannazzo. He takes a 4-1 lead as we hit the 1 minute mark in the second period. Arango trying to stand, Chris trying to break him down, maintains the control, though he's flopped down to his stomach. He's got to get up on his knees and get around behind again. And 30 seconds left in the second period. And we have a break in the action. And Dick Smith is checking. I don't know if there's blood or an injury. Looks like it might be blood, which means they're going to have to be cleaning up the mat. And there is blood time for the Panthers. I am joined right now by East Brunswick Athletic Director Frank Knoppenberger. Frank, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cancro, for having me, and I appreciate you volunteering your time. I know how busy you are being administrator at a school system, but coming out here and volunteering your time to help broadcast tonight's game, because it really does mean a lot to the kids and to the parents. So on behalf of the athletes and the parents, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I enjoyed you coming out here, so I should be thanking you for the opportunity. What we're hoping to do, Frank, as we go along, we have a break in the action now, is talk, and you can call me Bob, please.
Thank you. Big Bob or just Bob?
Just Bob is okay. Talk about some of the other sports, because obviously in the wintertime, basketball and wrestling get some coverage on Channel 8, but you don't always get a chance to talk about some of the other teams, and while we have an opportunity, we can do some of that. Swimming. Now, we don't have a pool in East Brunswick. We've had a swim team for a number of years, and they've been getting some good coverage in the paper. Where do we stand this season right now?
Well, you're absolutely right. We don't have a swimming pool, and I see that as a disadvantage to our program. However, the coaching staff and the players and the parents, through dedication, have overcome that. And we've adopted Middlesex as our home. And the boys were very successful this year. We have one meet left. We qualified for the States for the first time in a few years. Wow. We beat St. Joe's for the first time in, I think, maybe 15 years. And that we ended up with probably a 7-2 record, which we have one meet left, which would be tomorrow, and that's a co-ed meet against Sayreville. Okay.
Is that a GMC sport? Is that a conference sport, the swimming?
It's recognized as a sport, not head-to-head competition, not dual competition, but just the conference championship at the end of the year. Okay. Now, let's finish that in a little bit.
We come back to Chris Yanazzo and Julio Arango at 125. Chris Yanazzo on top. Tries to crank in that half now. So just a few seconds remaining here in the second period. Chris should, and we finish up. Chris Yanazzo finishing that second period with a 4-1 lead. And Arango from Perth Amboy will have choice, and he chooses the bottom where Chris had some difficulty in the first period, holding him down. And Chris decides that discretion is the better part of valor, chooses the optional start. He's going to give him the 1 and try to work on his feet, where he had some early success in this match.
Bob, are you surprised with this 16-0 jump we got on him?
I was commenting earlier, the Bears have not gotten off to a lot of fast starts this year, and to come out with Tony Ruperto and Nick Yanazzo with those pins early on, and first period pins, which it really sets a tone. You get a situation where you establish that momentum, and you know, we have a nice turnout on the East Brunswick side. Not a big crowd tonight, but certainly a very enthusiastic group of people when they come out here. But it's nice to get that quick win, and then Phil coming up with a major decision at 119. Two wrestlers out there right now just dancing around, and this is a kid that Chris Yanazzo lost to in the GMCs by a 7-3 score. So this is a very big one for. Very big match for Chris, and certainly for the team, because again, if you can get off to 4 in a row, and especially as you're coming into the strength of the Panthers, that would mean a lot. Well, with a warning for stalling on both wrestlers, that's a point. I was just going to say, we have a point there somewhere, and that makes it 4-3, and a horse race with under a minute, 47 seconds to go in this third period at 125 pounds. Chris has to be aggressive. He's got to push in on it. Chris pops underneath. He's got the single. He's got to lift that and try to trip him. And if you keep him in bounds, he'll kill some time on the clock as well. A front trip would be what he wants now. But inside, his toes are still in. That's not going to be control. That's a tough one. If he could have moved up on the legs a little bit, he would have had it. He has just 14 seconds left. He had it in there really tight. If he could have stayed in bounds, it would have been made a big difference there. He shoots again. We're under 10 seconds. He's got to stay aggressive, and he'll be okay. And that will be it. A 4-3 decision for the Bears, and Chris Yanazzo, and a 19-0 lead for the team as we head up to Ben Goddard at 130.
That was a nice win for Chris. Did you say that he lost to him in the GMC?
He lost to Arango 7-3 in the GMC, so to come back now, just less than a week later, you know, there's a lot of psychology in all sports, but certainly in wrestling, as you know, there are all kinds of head cases out there, and the emotions just run rampant. Ben Goddard comes up, a junior. He's our Ohio special.
Transfer.
Transfer.
Legitimate. We checked everything out ahead of time.
Never questioned that. Nice fireman's carry. Ben doesn't have the control yet. Steps across. Got to pop his head back, lift that leg and that waist. Getting a little twisted up now. He's got his arm caught in there. That could be dangerous. He ought to let go of that. Yeah, okay, fine. And he's got his he's got his takedown. The Bears have gotten every first takedown in this match so far. And Ben having some pretty good control. Ben comes in at 8-8, and his opponent Edgar Febbles at 9-6, a third-place finisher. Frank, we were talking earlier. I'm sorry we got going in the end of Chris's match. You're talking about the swimming team. You said the boys qualified for the states. What about the girls' side of that?
Well, the girls were just as impressive. They had a very good record of 6-1, and that doesn't count against the co-ed teams. The conference, by just adding South Brunswick as a team, has made it an official sport. You've got to have 6 teams to make it a conference sport. We never had that. That's why the championships were just determined on a championship individual swim meet.
Both wrestlers tied up in there. Ben Goddard still with control for now, but Dick Smith is looking around to see if he can get the. Looks like Febbles, if he gets his hips up, is going to have control, and he does give it to him on the reversal. Now, Ben lost to this wrestler in overtime in what could have been considered a controversial match. Ben was coming around on a takedown. But his leg was in a precarious position. They stopped the bout because of a potentially dangerous hold. And Coach Glenn Pazinko certainly was upset about it, as were a lot of the fans in the stands. But from a safety standpoint, you give the kid the benefit of the doubt. And then Feblis came back to win in the overtime 6-4.
Bob, you're a former coach and wrestler. Why aren't as many wrestlers wearing mouthpieces as we see Ben is out there?
I don't think a lot of kids like the idea they're, you know, mouthpieces. You can't spit it out like between plays as with football. And I think because they get into such tough positions, rolling around on the mat, getting your head squeezed, having to breathe through your mouth as much as you tend to do on the mat, I don't think they like it, but certainly from the standpoint of preventing concussions, which is really the biggest issue with a mouthpiece, it would be great to have more kids do that. And I think it's a comfort issue, really, for a lot of these wrestlers. Ben Goddard with choice in the second period. He's looking over for some help, and he's going to be told to defer.
To jump back to swimming, if I may.
Sure.
We have the state individuals coming up, and we're going to have a few young men in there that could make some noise. You know, Brad King has a great year. AJ Ciccarello is having a super year, and Joey Zanetti. So although we didn't continue our team quest for a championship, certainly we have some kids that can make some noise on the individual, and we wish them the best.
Now, I recognize a couple of those names, those last names, and their parents are very involved and supportive of the program, right?
They have been for years. For the 20 years that I've been in East Brunswick, I know they've been involved in swimming.
Ben in control, but a little bit precarious. He's got that bar around the back, and he's trying to get that front chin. At this point, Ben probably just best to start over again, which he's going to end up doing. Feblis, a very physical upper body. Not easy for Ben to hang on there, and he's not covering legs real well and allowing Feblis to come around as he's doing right here. Ben's still in control, but not real strong, and it looks like Feblis, if he comes up, is going to be able to claim control there with that, with a cross body perhaps. Ben's got the one leg though, preventing the exchange. And they go out of bounds with no change and a 2-2 score. 45 seconds remaining in the second period. The folks you were mentioning now with the swimming, now it's a GMC sport with the addition of South Brunswick, right?
That'll give us 6 in each division, 6 in the boys, 6 in the girls, and then it would also, we'd still have 2 co-ed teams. 2 of the schools swim co-ed, so they are not determined. They have not declared that they're a boys team or girls team, and they just swim independently of a record.
I want to ask about South Brunswick's. If they have, but just as a second here, Edgar Febb was injuring his knee, and there was an injury time now for the Panthers. South Brunswick, now, do they have a pool in their new facility, their new high school?
No, they don't. But they've got that nice relationship with North Brunswick, and they've been using their swimming facilities. I was over at South Brunswick today, and we looked at their indoor facility for hopefully holding the GMC basketball championships there.
Because that gym seats about 2,000, right?
Yeah, that's our. We can't get to the rack this year because of the girls' Big East tournament, so we hope to have the finals there.
So that'll be the weekend of what, March 3rd, 4th, something like that?
It would be that Sunday, that first Sunday in March, which is the 1st, I believe.
Well, Ben Goddard back on top as we continue here in the second period at 130 pounds. A 2-2 score. Ben trying to crank in a cradle. But wrestling a little bit loose there. He's got a couple younger brothers on the team. I think it's Dan and Andrew.
Well, I think there may be one. He may be a freshman, but it's a great family, and they're wrestlers. And you know how that wrestling travels in families. Well,
I think it's genetic. My daughter's involved. No sons, and that's okay. Oh, they're locked hands. But they're going to wait and see what happens here. I'm convinced that wrestling is genetics.
It's definitely a family thing.
Ben's got to hang on here. If he lets it go, he's going to give up 2 and 1. So right now, as long as he can hang on there, which he does, there will simply be the 1 point on the violation, the locked hands, as the period comes to a close. Ben Goddard with a 3-2 deficit now, and he chooses the bottom position, which, as we've often said, is easier to get points on. And again, Febb was holding onto his knee, but I think that's the different knee. He was holding his left knee before, and now looks like he's hanging onto his right. And the injury time is counting.
1 minute.
1 minute has been used total so far. You get 2 minutes of injury time in wrestling, but you only get a total of 3 timeouts throughout the match. So,
if I may, Bob, can I boast about our track teams?
Absolutely.
Our boys,
that's what we're here for.
Our boys' track team are currently 7-2, and tomorrow they'll conclude their season against Sayreville. And the girls' track team is 9-1, and they'll conclude their season tomorrow also at Sayreville. Outstanding dual meet season for us. And we just didn't have the superstars to do as well as we'd like into championship meets. But we certainly showed our depth, and that's important to have a depth in track. That means you had a lot of kids involved and a lot of kids participating.
Well, Kevin McAvoy and Brian Merrigan have just done they do a great job with the kids.
Yeah, they're veteran coaches, and they motivate well. They keep the kids interested, and we're lucky to have them as coaches.
And I've known those folks. And Brian's son, Matt, is a wrestler in the rec program.
Yes, he is, and I'm surprised he's not here yet. He'll be here.
He comes around a lot. Ben Goddard in the 3rd period now, down by a point to Edgar Feblis of Perth Amboy. Ben needs to get a couple points here for a win, but right now he needs just to break out from underneath, and he's allowing Feblis to tie himself up as he did early in the match, control the situation. Ben needs to break out of there and not get cranked. Right now, Feblis trying to roll him through. He's got the arm pulled under. And Ben is simply trying to hip over, crank down on the arm and hip over, and not doing that very successfully right now. A little over a minute to go in this period, and we've got a potentially dangerous as they come up in that cross body ride. Now, in winter track, real quick, Frank, will there be there's a conference tournament there too?
There's a conference championship. There's a division championship, which is determined head by head. And Old Bridge just edged our girls out the other day. and St. Joe's edged our boys out a couple weeks ago. But they were very competitive meets.
Ben is, I'm sorry.
And we're real proud of the way the kids hung in there.
Ben has a Peterson, and he's trying to crank that in. He lost the Peterson. He's got 40 seconds remaining here. He's got the leg. But he's holding on to that the wrong way right now. Call a stalemate. Or maybe it was potentially dangerous. Ben's leg was twisted up a little bit, and almost deja vu all over again, as Yogi would say. A situation where Ben might have come out, but had the match stopped for his protection. And we're going to have perhaps an injury. No.
He may be a little bit tired, the Perth Amboy wrestler. What do you think?
Well, you know, he's holding his knees, but at the same time, what happened with GMCs on Saturday, it looked as if he was sucking wind a little bit or had cramps. Ben Goddard gets the escape. We have a tie with 23 seconds, and this really is deja vu. Ben's got to break that inside arm free, and they are out of bounds. There is no control with just 10 seconds.
I mean, we're looking at overtime here, but is that one of the most exciting
events? the biggest improvement in wrestling since they got rid of riding time. This is the same situation. Got to hang on there, and we're in OT. I think the addition of overtime to wrestling was a tremendous addition.
It is exciting. The sudden victory just adds so much to the sport.
And you really prove if you're ready to wrestle, if you're in condition, if you can suck it up, because now we're in a 2-minute overtime. The first points will win. And this is where we were on Saturday afternoon at Piscataway High School in the GMC quarterfinals. He's got a spin. Feblis with the arm out to block. Then if he pressures the head and spins behind, got to get his legs back, get his hips back. And a takedown by Edgar Feblis in overtime. Gives him a 5-3 win, and it gives the Panthers their first points of the match. And 19-3 lead by the Bears.
Very exciting match.
Good match by two good wrestlers.
Absolutely. As we got a minute here, our bowling team, defending boys champion, state champion, and you talk about a lot of pressure about repeating. That's all they're talking about, is repeating as state champs.
Bob Hagedas has put together a powerhouse in bowling, and I don't think you'd really think of East Brunswick as a bowling center.
Well, it's one of those sports that doesn't get the publicity as a wrestling or a basketball, but we are certainly outstanding in bowling.
Hit that in a second. Right now, Rob McKinley up for the Bears at 135 pounds against John Ventura here in the first period. Ventura, a senior with a 4-10 record, and Rob coming in at 5-6, also a senior. One of the seniors honored tonight. Gets in on a single. Drops him over, and no points there, but a takedown for Rob McKinley. And so once again, the Bears jump out to a quick lead here at 135 pounds. Bowling is a sport, to get back there just for a second, because I don't want to ignore you. But bowling is a sport, it's one of those lifetime sports that kids take an interest in and start working. And you know, there is a lot of pressure because it's one-on-one. And
I invite our audience to go to a bowling match and see the enthusiasm and the sportsmanship and the team camaraderie exhibited there. It is an outstanding atmosphere. You've got about 400 kids, and they actually high-five the other team when they make a strike. You know, that's tough. I mean, that's being a good sport. But it is, they applaud good shots, good plays so to speak, from the other team.
Rob McKinley with the bar across. He tries to crank over. He's looking for to scoop the head. Did not get any points there. He was looking to figure 4, perhaps, the head, and he gives up the escape to John Ventura. Bowling, I guess, is like, in wrestling, it's almost a family. I mean, you've got kids, they see each other at the lanes on almost a regular basis when they're practicing or competing. So, and you probably do have a lot of tournaments, and these kids probably bowl on their own. So these are kids who are, you know, they really do know each other pretty well.
Right, like wrestling, they know one another. But it is a nice, nice atmosphere.
Rob McKinley in for a quick takedown. Nice duck under. And now in for a 4-1 lead as the period comes to an end. So the timing just right for Rob McKinley at 135 pounds. The choice in the second period goes to John Ventura.
Barring upset, Bob, I believe that both our boys and the girls are going to be division champs this year in bowling. Yeah, absolutely. And Leslie Anderson and, as you mentioned, Bob Hegedus they've done a great job for us this year, and congratulations to the bowlers. They do a nice, it's a nice situation. Bob, my daughter had Bob as a chemistry teacher, and I taught with him for many years. He's a bit of a character too, and he's a lot of fun. He can make you laugh. Rob McKinley coming around for a reversal, doing a fine job, and they're good control on John Ventura. Again, the Bears with a 19-3 lead in the team score right now. Nice scoop there by Rob, bringing him back down. Rob has had an up and down season. As I said, his record is 5-6, and you know, to some extent, you never knew which Rob McKinley was going to come out sometimes when he wrestled. When he was hot, he was outstanding. And right now, he looks like he's handling the situation very well. Now, Bob Hegedus is a funny guy, and I think that humor helps him to reach the kids and help them to relax. It's got to be, as you said, the pressure. So, and he's got and he loves to bowl too. I know that. Yeah, I believe he just took 3rd in his age category in the state, and he can relate to the kids. And you know, he teaches the bowling rather than just coaching. He teaches them, and he spends a lot of time trying to improve their bowling skills. Dick Smith down there looking to see if we've got an illegal hold there. The hands coming together over the neck. Rob trying to drive that half Nelson and just can't quite get the traction, and he can't quite throw that arm across the way he needs to. I know one of the things that you emphasize is that the coaches are not just coaches of a sport, they're teachers. And I think you know, Bob and Glenn, all these folks, you know, that are working for you and for the kids here in East Brunswick are trying to do that. They really try to teach the kids about the sport. They try to teach the kids about life, and they're constantly instructing the kids on how to improve themselves as people. We get an escape. Rob goes from trying to crank him over, doesn't quite have it, gives it up, although Rob's been pretty good on his feet. He's gotten 2 takedowns, so this may be advantageous for him as the period comes to a close, and Rob McKinley at 135 pounds with a 6-2 lead, and John Ventura takes the bottom position. Bob, I got a question for you since you're firing them all at me. I've got an idea that I just want you, a traditionalist in the wrestling world, feels. What would you think about, because I always feel sorry. You put me on the spot now? This the guys at the end of the bench, the upper weights, right. A lot of pressure on them all the time. I'm thinking about having the weights picked out randomly out of a hat, and whatever's picked, that's who's crawled out to wrestle. Well, as John Ventura got the escape there, I know the rule book allows for that. It does. The rule book allows for it by mutual consent of the coaches, if I'm not mistaken. I think it did. And I remember one time when I was coaching, probably my first year, Rob with a good duck under and gets that takedown again. He's got that down pat tonight. He has Ventura's number on their feet. I tried that one time when I was coaching my very first year, and we mixed them up. And you know, again, the traditionalists said, no, the big guys are supposed to finish this match. But I think it would help
I mean, I think it's very fair for those upper weights as a warning is given to Ventura for stalling. You know, kids like Tommy Crowell and Mike McManus in the upper weights here, even though it's really not on, you know, we say it's on their shoulders, the match has been dictated to them.
Oh, absolutely.
They have no control.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the guys down below in the middle, whatever they did, they handed to these guys in the upper weights, and now these guys are stuck, you know, trying to pull it out of the fire in some cases.
Right.
So, you know, like tonight, for example, if you knew a Tony Ruperto was going to go out there like a house on fire, or a Nick Yanazzo, hey, I wouldn't mind having them as the 13th and 14th bouts. Guys that are going to be tough nuts. And, you know, we talk about the middle of the lineup coming into the strength of a Perth Amboy. Well, if those weights were mixed up, you don't know what the sequence might be. Right. You don't know how the momentum might flow. So it really changes the whole dynamics of what you're doing. Rob McKinley with the bar, cranking him over, and he is trying to scoop the head this time. He has to figure forward. He can't scissor the head, so he just can't quite crank it over. We're under 20 seconds. Rob McKinley was with an 8-3 lead. He keeps the bar in. And a win here, which you would think it would be. He's got no back points there, just rolled right through as the period will come to a close. Rob McKinley, an 8-3 victory over John Ventura. 3 more points for the Bears, puts them up 22-3. And we'll see who the Bears put out at 140 pounds.
I think it would just add, to go back to that point, a lot more strategy to it about who you're going to put up first or second, and you know, a particular weight class. I mean, there's a lot more strategy involved in wrestling than some people think.
Okay. We have, I just lost my notes here. Matt Kolbeck for the Bears at 140 pounds against probably one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler for the Panthers, Tom Heidzik, at 140 pounds, and Heidzik pops his head out for the takedown. Well, you know, wrestling coaches are somewhat neurotic as it is, and they're always concerned about who's going to go out first and which, you know, you start playing with the weight classes. Probably if you gave him that option of juggling all the weights, you'd have to provide, you know, counseling and therapy sessions for wrestling coaches, because they'd all be crazier than they are right now. And as a former wrestling coach, I'll put myself into that group. You're always worried about what the other guy's going to do. You're always worried about who's going to put out first. Is he going to switch a weight on you? So you're right. The strategy would really be coming into play, and your lineup changes would be incredible.
I just think it would be that. It would be very interesting to see. I mean, I was never in favor of the three-point shot in basketball years ago either. And look, how much thinking that's added to the game.
Tom Heidzik for the Panthers is a senior. He's cranked over Matt Kolbeck, but on the line, and there were no points. Heidzik comes in with a 19-1 record. Took third place, one of the 3 third-place finishers for the Panthers in the GMCs, and he also was a Hillsborough and Lenape Valley tournament champion, 2 tournaments the Panthers went into early in the season. So certainly one of the best, as I said, if not the best wrestler for him. Throws in that cross body and tries to crank Matt over. Matt, just a freshman with no varsity record. Again, Glenn's put out a number of young kids. He's brought up, well, Nicky Yanazzo. He's brought up Matt Kolbeck. He's got Adam Fleischauer on the lineup. So a lot of young kids wrestling for the Bears. Part of the problem, I think, in some of the losses they've suffered along the way. But you didn't like the three-point rule, huh?
Well, I did. Now I think it's great. I mean, that was like, I was a traditionalist too. I felt no way it would ruin the game, but actually it's increased the game.
Sure.
Put a lot more thinking into it.
Just 2 points on the board for Tom Heidzik at 140 pounds. And he and Matt Kolbeck going into the second period. Matt Kolbeck choosing the bottom, down 2-0. I think there'd be a lot of changes in strategy, because you look at tonight's matchup where you had where Glenn had some options with McKinley, Kolbeck, Marshall, all these guys weighing in that 130, 135, 140 weight class. You wouldn't have that option of moving people around as much if you're spread out as you have somebody right next to each other. It would really change the thinking of the sport.
I just would like to know what's the mindset of the the heavyweight people, what they're thinking. I mean, are they saying, oh no, here it goes again, it's going to come down to me?
Matt Kolbeck working his way out of that. I don't know, I always thought that it was kind of the price they had to pay for being able to eat anything they wanted to.
Or are they relishing the fact that, hey, I want it to come down to me?
Well, there are definitely some guys who would say, this is my time. And, you know, the go-to guy in basketball, the guy who, you know, Keyshawn Johnson, give me the ball. I want that. But it's got to be a lot of pressure on a kid. And, you know, we're talking about 16, 17-year-old kids out here who have to bear that. But it would change things. Matt Kolbeck is holding his own against sort of the cream of the crop. Freshman against a senior here. I would have to imagine that Mike Giordano over on the Perth Amboy side would be looking for you know, a win here, certainly, and you know, perhaps
probably
even more.
A pin.
Yeah, looking for the 6, but Heidzig has tried to crank over Matt a couple of times with a cross-body ride. He's locked him up in the cradle, and Matt has fought out of it. He again throws in that cross-body, rides very high, stretches him out in that grapevine, and is going to straight half Nelson now. 30 seconds to go here in the second period. Still just a 2-0 lead for the leader of the Panthers, Tom Heidzig, against the Bears freshman wrestler Matt Kolbeck. And we're going to get a stalemate, nothing happening there. Frank, we were talking a little bit about the winter sports here and there. Your favorite, you're talking about 3-point shots. Let's go to basketball. Where do we stand? We certainly know one of those teams gets an awful lot of ink.
Well, this year one is getting a lot of ink. And the girls basketball team under Reggie Carney are just an outstanding group of young ladies and very exciting to watch. You talk about the 3-point adding another dimension to the game.
2 periods in the book here at 140 pounds. Tom Heidzig in the lead for the Panthers. He takes the bottom position, takes defense, quick switch, and cranks it over for the reversal. How long has Reggie been here now? He's
I believe
his home here practically.
This is maybe his 9th year. Time is flying by.
Yeah.
9 years already. And he's just a wonderful person to be involved with as a teacher. He just has a tremendous rapport with the kids, and as a coach, he's probably unmatched in his dedication. Some people think he's a little obsessed. He just enjoys it. He thoroughly enjoys coaching and being with kids. And if he coached wrestling or bowling or whatever sport, they'd be very successful, because that's the way he goes about it.
He certainly did a great job with the girls' softball program. He's now retired from that, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I have to tell you that my colleague, where I work at Livingston High School, the other vice principal in my building, Pam Claus McGrady, was down here observing your phys ed program.
That's right.
Came down here because you're up for an award.
Yes, we were.
In phys ed, and Pam saw Reggie teaching, and she came back and said, "Guy's okay.
Yeah.
Guy's a good teacher, excellent teacher." And
yeah,
my daughter.
Pam's a nice person too.
Yeah, she's a bright, sharp lady. But you know, my daughter has had Reggie as a coach, Reggie as a teacher, and you know, just can't say enough positive things, nice things about him.
He's an upbeat, positive person. He's what teachers and coaches should all be about.
Tom Heidzig trying to turn Matt Kolbeck, and Matt Kolbeck having nothing to do with that. He is fighting. He's got a whizzer in. Easy coming down. 4-1 is the score right now. A violation was thrown in there, which I missed because we were talking about other good things in East Brunswick.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, but Matt is, with just 34 seconds remaining, has fought the top of the line for the Panthers and is not giving up anything. He gets the reversal. It is a 4-3 score right now with 17 seconds. Matt Kolbeck, the freshman,
What do you think?
he's got to count. He's got back points. He's got to hold on. He's got a pair of back points. He's got a 5-4 lead. He's just got to ride him, and he's got an upset. The upset of the night. Matt Kolbeck, the freshman, comes out of nowhere in his first varsity match and beats the county third-place finisher by a 5-4 score. What a maneuver at the very end. And without question, an outstanding matchup.
Congratulations to that young man.
Wow. Matt Kolbeck came through the rec program, as a lot of these kids did, get their experience down below.
Did I hear you're still involved with rec wrestling?
I started coaching this year again for the 4th year, but unfortunately scheduling kind of pushed me out of there. I had too many things going on. You get your plate very full and meetings at school, and it was tough to keep involved. But I was coaching for, but I had to pull away this year.
Yeah, someone who will remain nameless was speaking very highly of you, and of course I concurred with what they were saying.
Jenna.
For the Bears, we have Alex Pardo. Pardo is a junior with no varsity record. He's up against Felix Rodriguez for the Panthers. Well, thank you very much for that compliment. I appreciate that.
Well, you know, I had the pleasure to coach with you, and then I think a few years as a supervisor, and you're a class act, and I always enjoyed it.
Well, thank you.
I will tell you, I was mad at you when you retired.
Well, opportunities happen.
Right.
There's a takedown for Felix Rodriguez as he tries to crank that arm over. Again, Pardo coming in with no varsity record. This is his first time out on the mat at this level. Rodriguez, again, one of the better wrestlers. This is a strength in this area for the Panthers as 2 points go up for a near fall. Rodriguez with a 14-4 record. He was a 2-time place winner in the counties, 2-time district champion. Took a 3rd this year at the GMCs this past weekend. I think at that time it was time for me to retire.
No, not at all.
But obviously I didn't have it out of my system because I had to come back again.
It's tough to get it out of your system. It
Yeah.
really is. Bob, can you remind the audience that on Saturday the 21st, the Bears will be taking on Hillsborough at 11 o'clock right here at East Brunswick High School?
Okay, just want to remind the fans out there that on Saturday the 21st, I don't know when this is going to be on the air, but on Saturday the 21st, is this the boys or girls?
Boys and wrestling.
Boys and wrestling. Oh, we'll be against Hillsborough.
Right.
Okay, I didn't realize we had another match coming up. Pardo cranked over there and fights out of it as Rodriguez holds on to the to that cradle. He picks up 3 on the near fall and a 7-0 lead as the first period comes to a close. That's an additional match. That was not originally scheduled, right?
That's one of those iffies if we don't make the state tournament in advance type thing. And you've got to schedule those in there, and both schools are very understanding.
Okay. The interesting thing about the state sectionals, I was looking at the PowerPoints that were in the paper today. You know, you talk about quality points or quality losses. The Bears had a whole slew of them because they were ranked, you said 5th.
5th in the PowerPoint.
5th in the section, but yet they do not make it because they didn't have a 500 record.
Right, it's just, I mean, sometimes that's the way it is. Maybe if we win tonight, if it was earlier, it may have made a difference. I don't know. But when you schedule 2 years in advance, you don't know who's going to be that good or whatever. Plus, we lost a couple close ones earlier in the year.
You know, they were hanging tough in a lot of them, and but you know, loss is a loss, unfortunately. Right. But again, it did show at least the quality of the competition and also the quality of the team, because you know they didn't hurt themselves by some of those losses, or at least other than the fact that it was an L. Rodriguez cranks over. He's got the reversal, and Pardo is down there pretty tight, although he's fighting out. He's up on this side. Just over a minute to go here in the second period, and that is it. At 2 minutes and 57 seconds in the second period, Felix Rodriguez for the Panthers with a fall over Alex Pardo, and 6 points up on the board for the Panthers. As we said, the middleweights are to some extent their strength, although right now they are putting out at 152 pounds a fellow that has no varsity record in Handel Price, a junior for the Panthers. Against Gail Marshall, So we talked about some maneuvering. At 152 pounds, Gail Marshall moving up and picks up the takedown. Now the question is, will Russ, in this situation, I guess Russell Leota will move up to 160 pounds with Gail filling in here at 152.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to wrestle Russ.
Barrero is a senior, not a very good record up at 160 pounds for the Panthers, but neither did Handel Price have much. Now Gail comes in with a 4-12 record, and here's a situation where the family is wrestling also. His brother Yannick also wrestled for the Bears a few years ago. And I was talking with, my wife is my source of information from the stand. She sits over there and gathers up all this information. And Mrs. Marshall never would come to the matches. Yannick never wanted her around. So she said, okay, fine, I'll stay home. But Gail is a little bit different, and Mom's been coming out and has seen more wrestling. And she said, I never realized how exciting it was and how much all these people were coming out and watching my kids wrestle.
I was talking to one of our mothers last week, and when her son wrestled, she'd leave the gymnasium.
Oh, there are more of those parents running around.
Right, and that's her husband over there, Barbara Mead. Remember the Mead family?
Ralph and
she said she couldn't watch him wrestle. She would leave. She just couldn't take the pressure.
Back points for Gail as he does a quick stack there on the bar. And Handel Price of the Panthers. Now, Ralph was, as I recall, when I came up as a JV coach here, Ralph was our first district champion at probably about 103 pounds when Paul Cork and I were working together here at the high school. And Ralph was one of the most unorthodox wrestlers you would ever. Oh, he would get himself into some gangly positions and hanging all over people. And I still remember a match at J.P. Stevens where he was down by 5 points in the third period. We had a timeout for some reason. Came over to the side, and we were about to tell him what to do. And he said, well, Coach, this is what I'm going to do. And he gave this long description. And we're looking at him like, are you serious? And he went out and did exactly that. And it's like he scripted a play in a football game or a basketball game. And he did it. But unorthodox, but a tough wrestler. And well, from a good family.
Yeah, Barbara and I were also talking about the weight loss and how that's put a little bit of a black eye in wrestling.
Well, a lot of problems that have occurred in the last this year in college wrestling. Gail Marshall taking the defensive position in the second period and comes around. He gets an escape. And I guess Dick Smith waved it. No. He waved that off and just gave him the reversal. He was about to give it to him and just gave it a continuation and gave him the reversal on that instead of the escape in 2, which is a good call because it would have been a cheap 2 and then a cheap 1 and then a 2. Gail throwing in legs just as Rodriguez did for the Panthers last time. Gets that crossface to crank him over. Legs are not in that deep and his hips are a little bit low right now. Now the weight loss situation in colleges this year with a couple of deaths of college wrestlers, but again, there's not a lot of monitoring of kids at that level.
Well, I think it was all done in the preseason or before practice can officially start, and you know that's just educating, just like anything. We have to educate the kids how to properly lose weight, and it's very difficult. I never wrestled, but I can imagine how difficult it is to lose or maintain weight.
Well, it really wasn't until I was a senior and I finally started to listen to my father, who amazingly gained an awful lot of knowledge in the 3 years I was in the high school. And I understood better what I had to do, the kind of foods I had to eat, when I had to eat. And I felt more comfortable as a senior. You finally learn how to control that. And I think in high school, as Gail tips him over, doing a nice job picking up some points. He's got some back points coming up. But in high school, you have a lot more monitoring of the wrestlers. And as you said, before the season starts, there's the weigh-in, there's a certification by a doctor. And it's not just this is what I want to weigh, this is what the doctor says I can weigh and can wrestle. He did, all right, let's go back to the beginning of that match. We did give him an escape, and it was a takedown. And that's a good call, too. And they did not have that on the board, so I wasn't sure about that. So we have a 9-0 lead, and right now, Gail Marshall with a major decision, at least a point spread for a major decision. as Handel Price from Perth Amboy chooses the defensive position. Gail Manning on the right side, not the usual side for most wrestlers. He has been able to control Handel Price, pick up some back points along the way. He again tries that tilt. He's got to watch his own back.
Yeah, I was
You can
just
see
gonna
right there.
say.
He's very close. People don't realize that, you know, the offensive wrestler, the top wrestler, can pin himself. Good step over by Gale. And he's got 2 on the back for an 11-0 lead. Now at this point, if he can't pin him, he's got to try to crank him a couple more times for some back points, and he could come up with a technical fall, which is a 15-point margin. And he's got 1 minute and 4 seconds to do that. He's doing the tilts well, but sometimes it's a lot faster to crank that half Nelson in and do it. I always wondered why wrestlers would wait so long or waste so much time. He might have gotten 2 out of that. He did. And Price for an escape. It is 13-1. And the takedown by Gale puts him at 15-1. Let him go and pick it up and go for another one. 1 and 2. And that does give Gail Marshall a technical fall. That's 5 points. And it looks like Dick Smith, I didn't notice it. He must have gotten his glasses knocked off there. Got kicked a little bit.
Yeah, they went flying all over, and that's what Glenn appeared in the screen for. He was trying to.
I was wondering where he was coming from.
Fix the glasses.
I said, yeah, they're not allowed to do that. You can't approach the match like that.
I was waiting for the fans to get all over him about his eyesight, or lack of, as they would do in baseball or whatever.
Russ Leota's coming out for at 160 pounds against Eric Barrero for the Panthers. Frank, we were a while back, we started talking about basketball, and we mentioned girls basketball, and they are doing extremely well this year with Reggie.
Right. They'll probably be the #1 seed in the conference tournament, which is being held this Sunday, and tomorrow we're going to see the state tournament, and they'll probably be the #1 seed in Central Jersey. We got a good shot of winning a lot of tournaments this year, section and the conference tournament.
Well, you've already knocked off a couple of the big guns in the area, right? With Piscataway and.
But you got to play him twice and maybe a third time, and each time you play him, it makes it more difficult. But Reggie won't let the girls get satisfied. And the boys, you know, the boys have been struggling this year. That's not a secret. However, they won last night. They're going to play Edison tomorrow night, home, at 7 o'clock, and that's senior night. And I think we're going to take Edison. We lost to them last time in overtime. And then I think we could win a couple games in the county tournament, and then once you're at that level, or in the conference tournament, anything can happen.
Absolutely. Russell Leota coming in here, tries to get in a couple times. Have gone out of bounds several times. They've only had 35 seconds go past in this off the clock here. Russ comes in with an 11-4 record, and Barrero with no record that I can find. As I was talking to Mike Giordano, their coach, before the match, he didn't say anything about him. So Barrero comes in somewhat untested. Russ certainly one of the leaders for the Bears.
Certainly. Here's a wrestling family. The father was telling me last match that wrestling is the hardest sport on a parent, to sit there and watch your kid wrestle, and it's you feel for them on both ends of that emotional line, the joy of winning and of course that agony.
Russ Leota picks up that takedown. You know, I've coached for so long, and I've talked to parents certainly, and I'd see them pacing around or leave the gym, as you were saying before. I never really had that. I never knew what it would feel like to sit there and watch your kid get twisted into a pretzel and get that and have that gut-wrenching feeling.
Well, even Coach Merrigan, who's sitting over there across from us, you mentioned his son earlier, who's a wrestler. He tells me the same thing. He says, oh, it's the emotion that is in that 2 or 3 minutes, because
Sure.
at that age you're only wrestling a minute
Right.
or so. He says it just kills you.
You know, and here's a fellow who's sent many an athlete onto the field to run. He's seen his other son Brian play football,
Right.
and
Basketball,
basketball, well, and he's done very well in those sports.
Oh.
But yet here, you know, the one thing that rips him apart is young Matt wrestling.
And you know, we're talking about Matt right now, and it's 1998, and I think in a few years you're going to be talking about him on the mat out here.
You've got a lot of kids coming through the program right now.
He likes that. You know, another young man, Keith Richings, took a second in his what we call our conference tournament. There's about 15 schools from the shore area.
Well, you've got the Richings family there too. You've got Keith and Corey, and their dad is very involved. They're soccer players as well.
Right.
And you do see that as well, that families, their kids are involved in not just one sport usually. They're involved in a couple of sports or 3 sports, and the families are supportive because you're taking them all over the place. Are you getting into that yet with your kids?
Yeah, all 3 of them are involved in soccer, and it's what a joy it is to spend your weekend watching your. No, I'm serious.
I know. Russ comes up for an escape. Russ had bottom position. He has a 3-0 lead now on Eric Barrera. We've been talking a little bit about other people. Maybe we'll focus on Russ for a little bit. Otherwise, Dad's going to see this on TV and yell at us for not talking more about Russ.
Hard to believe.
You know, it's hard to believe because I've known Russ and Phil since they were, you know, in 4th grade with my daughter. So I've seen these guys, you know, mature, and they are young men right now. I coached their sister, Nikki, in softball one year. So, you know, these are great families and who support their kids 100%. George, the father, very active in the wrestling club.
Oh, and the quarterback club, will do anything I ask him. I mean, to help with the refreshment stand or help set up, and he's quite an asset to the athletic program.
Russ being the aggressor here, he has backed up Barrero, and Dick Smith has called a stalling on Barrero, giving Russ a point. And now with a 4-0 lead, you know, a win is nice. They have a 30-9 lead to the Bears, and I think that has surprised a lot of people because I think with the injuries and the people being out of the lineup and the fact that the Bears have come in on a down note, losing a number of dual meets, not doing that well in the GMCs, you know, I thought in Perth Amboy doing well.
Well, I know the guy over there doing a lot of coaching is pleasantly surprised, because before the match I was sitting and we were talking, and he says, boy, anything can happen. He just doesn't know, because he had a lot of those question marks.
Sure.
And like you pointed out, the 2 quick pins, and then the freshman winning, you know.
Well, you know, when Tommy Corio gets bounced out at 140 pounds and you throw a freshman there, Matt Colbeck, and he comes in with a win over the 3rd-place finisher in the counties, you can't ask for much more than that, but that had to be a huge question mark in Glenn's mind. That match, you know, here moving around, moving Russ up to 160 pounds where Jim Gagnon had been, and right now Russ doing very well. Of course, then you have it 189 with Adam Fleischauer filling in for Larry Benson. Still a question mark, and this match is certainly not over yet. There's still a lot of wrestling to go. But the win here would make a big difference and help set up closing matches for the Bears.
Just as long as it doesn't come down to the end.
No, well, those big guys again.
Well, I don't mean that. I just my stomach can't take those to the end.
You don't want those buzzer beaters
in any sport. I just.
Well, I have to agree with you, because my wife would say we'd be watching a game and say, oh, this is a good game. I said, no, I like a 30-point lead. I like 30-point leads in football. I like 30-point leads in basketball. That, to me, is a good game.
Yep.
Because then I can enjoy what's going on out there.
Seems like the Leota family's been around forever. Just think about it.
Well, it has been
4 years. That's a long time on the same mat, in the same gym.
They have given another point again for stalling. This is the 2nd time that an Amboy wrestler has been penalized the 2 points for stalling. Russ getting in on the takedown very nicely with just 10 seconds remaining here. He has a 9-0 lead. That's a major decision at this point as far as the margin of victory. I lost a point in there somewhere. I have only 8 points on my scorebook, but I'll trust that they have 9, at least for now. And even if it's 8, it's still a major decision right now. And actually, a major decision right now would guarantee the Bears the win. With the score right now, Russ gives the optional starting position, gives Barrero the escape. He's gotten in a couple of times on takedowns very easily and handled the situation, and he tries to crank him over with that little chin wrench. When Russ's match is over, Frank, I'd like to just touch very quickly on the spring sports, because with all this warm weather, and people are starting to look outside and look at the baseball and softball fields, and
if we could, because I have other responsibilities at the end of the game.
Absolutely.
You know, all those things I have to do.
It's amazing, you know, you walk around the school, my school too, and you see the meetings for lacrosse, meetings for softball, meetings for track, meetings for baseball.
Right about now.
It's just amazing. And I'm saying, wait a minute, it's February. This is not possible. Russ got a little sloppy there and almost cost himself, but he recovers and gets the takedown. You get aggressive like that, and that's good. But Russ slipped, and that could have been disaster right there.
Well, March 8th starts the official start of the season. That's a Sunday, so we're going to postpone that till that Monday, and that'll be full force. And you're talking boys lacrosse and both volleyballs. There's going to be like 300 athletes running around this place.
Again, Russ with the optional start gives the escape. He has an 11-2 lead. He's now, in the last minute, going to give it a shot perhaps at a tech fall, but he's going to have to get a quick takedown. He certainly has the major decision right now, which is the 14 points. But with just 53 seconds remaining, Phil is going to have to work, Russ is going to have to work very quickly here. Tries to drop in there, and again he slipped. Now I don't know if he had a hold of it, and maybe the sweat on Barrero's arms caused him, but you know, Russ went right back on his tail. And again, dangerous. 40 seconds remaining here in the third period. Russ gets in there again, and the takedown. That's 13-2, an 11-point margin. Really, with 30 seconds left, not really practical to try to go for a tech fall at this point. If you can turn him, that's fine. He has not been able to do that so far. He's been able to control the situation, control the wrestling, but just not able to turn Eric Barrero over.
And since I understand you can control the weather, I appreciate all this beautiful weather you've been giving us, and if you could just guarantee it for the beginning of March, it would certainly make
see, from my standpoint, I like the good weather in February because I can get fire drills in. That's my goal. I have to get a couple fire drills in the good weather. 5 seconds remaining here at 160 pounds. Russ Leota will pick up a 13-2 victory over Eric Barrero, giving the Bears what I believe, if I'm doing my math correctly, an insurmountable 34-9 lead. So this would give the Bears their third win of the season, and in impressive fashion. Dan Santiago, junior for the Bears, 1-10 record, has had a difficult time this year moving up from the JV from last year against Marcus Eusebio. Eusebio, a 6-4 wrestler. He's only a freshman for the Panthers. So we'll see if there's some physical maturity and on the part of Dan Santiago that can squeeze in here. Yeah, I'd love to see good weather for the spring, because I know how difficult it is for athletic directors with cancellations and postponements, and well, what a problem that is for you.
Not only that, they start their season out inside, outside, rain, cancellations, and they can't get into a continuity or a flow of things. And then finally, when they're into the good weather, it seems like it's the middle of May and the season's winding down.
Right.
See, I'm for one for starting the season later.
And carried into June even?
Absolutely, and I understand the problem with graduation and the proms and everything, but to me, baseball is 80-degree weather, short sleeves,
right,
and you know, sunshine, birds singing, green grass, all that stuff.
I have stood out in some viciously cold weather watching softball.
I've been there
April.
with you, and it just makes it that much. It doesn't make it a comfortable situation for anyone.
Stretch out. I don't see a real problem with that. I mean, I don't think it's a real issue. Yeah, there are some difficulties, but you can work around those things.
I agree, and you know, everything kind of works backwards because the state, the NJSIA, as you know, they set the state tournament, and everything has to go backwards.
So you have to have your games in, make sure you have X number of games and a 500 record.
Correct.
Eusebio gets the takedown. I wasn't sure if Dick Smith is going to give him the call. On the line.
Well, Bob, again, I want to thank you for everything, and hopefully we can talk Channel 8 to coming back in on the 21st for Hillsborough, and that'll be another exciting match.
It should be a good match.
That's a Group 4 school, very similar to ours, that we've developed a nice rivalry over the last few years.
In a number of sports.
Absolutely,
yeah. Sports. Santiago came down a little bit hard as they went out of bounds. We're going to have an injury time there. Frank, thank you very much. I appreciate your stopping by. I kept you here for quite a while. And to give an opportunity to talk about some of the other sports. And I hope we didn't take too much away from the kids here, because this has been a great match for the Bears, as they have built up a 34-9 lead as we're here at 171 pounds. Dan Santiago, not sure if he just got stunned or twisted something, but he stayed down there. Phil Hostler, trainer for the Bears, is out there. Certainly one of the outstanding individuals in the state in his area. Thank you. Seems to be okay. Kind of shaking it off. Phil is talking to him, and one of the things that Phil does very well is he asks the questions, and he expects the kids to answer him. And he expects the kids to understand their body and know what their body's doing. And I think part of his educational process, or the education that he gives to the kids, is to do just that, to understand what their body can do and what it's supposed to do. Dan Santiago for the Bears, down by a 2-0 score with just 34 seconds in the first period to go. Marcos Eusebio tries to put in that half Nelson. Dan fights that pretty well, and we have a stoppage in the action, and we have blood. Eusebio had a 6th place finish in the GMC tournament at this weight class. He lost to Joey Young from South River, and South River, the team that the Bears will be going up against on Friday night, the 13th, Friday the 13th at South River. And that's a match that you pretty much throw out the records, because they have South River and East Brunswick have always had a strong rivalry. They battle the Old Bridge Turnpike, and they battle for a trophy. And afterwards, the two wrestling clubs, the South River Wrestling Club, the East Brunswick Wrestling Club, get together and either celebrate their victory, commiserate in their losses, and just share a good time with each other, and the bond that does exist between the two. Now, real tough brought down there, real tough bring down by Eusebio, but not illegal. Dan Santiago fighting right back. Sometimes people want a slam call, but in reality, it's just very loud and very fast, but under control. Santiago getting to his feet easily enough, but not able to break the lock. Eusebio coming through the crotch, getting in that T-bar, as it's sometimes called. There's a caution on the top. Caution on Eusebio. Just 7 seconds remaining in the first period. He actually moved a little bit before that. You saw from this angle, you saw his leg move. And no exchange there as the period comes to a close, and Santiago will have the choice here in the 171-pound match. He defers, and Eusebio takes the bottom position. 2-0. Marcos Eusebio for the Panthers. Against the Bears, Dan Santiago. And he's going to get one as they go out of bounds. I think half Santiago pushing him off, half Eusebio just breaking free. Back on their feet, where in the first period Eusebio was able to get a takedown. That escape occurred just in the first 5 seconds of this second period. Looking down the line as we look ahead, the last 3 bouts. Adam Fleischauer, a freshman for the Bears at 189. He's filling in for the injured Larry Benson. Glenn Pazinko feels that Benson will probably be back for the districts, which are the last weekend in February. And then Mike McManus up at 215. Mike is having a very nice year. One of the seniors, and Tom Krell, again another senior at the heavyweight spot. And I think it would be interesting to talk to some of these heavyweights, and what is their thinking as they get down to those last couple of matches. And when it does come down to them either winning or losing this whole match, falls on their shoulders, rightly or wrongly it does. Santiago counters, does not come around far enough. Eusebio rather deep on that leg, but Santiago countering, and they go out of bounds. Still neutral. With a little over a minute remaining in the second period. The Bears with a 34-9 lead. As I spoke with East Brunswick Athletic Director Frank Knappenberg, I said this was an insurmountable lead. It is, assuming that there are no team points taken away from anybody, which is always a possibility and could happen. But as it stands right now, the Bears should be able to win it. And Santiago hurt again. It looks like, can't really tell. It looked like he was going to hold his side. His left arm is hanging there a little bit. You can just about see he's rubbing his left side. So I don't know if he twisted something. And again, Phil Hostler in there, taking a look at things. And coming out to, of course, Glenn Pazinko was there, along with assistant coach Andy Scanlon. And off to the side, out of the picture, though, is one of the student trainer, Joanna Brom, a senior. Was not here for the beginning of the match, so she did not get called out at the outset. But one of the seniors, along with the two managers, senior managers, Jenna Cancro and Lindsay Fleischauer. And the last time I was here doing a broadcast, and I didn't mention the other managers, and I think I should do that, Jennifer Wenz and Faye Bronzo, the other two underclass managers for the Bears, and they will be taking over for the seniors who are graduating. And they are a very important part of this program as well. Dan Santiago countering, the sprawl back. Trying to put some pressure on Marcos Eusebio. And going for the head and arm. Does not control it. Was a little bit loose as he came down, and Eusebio counters well. Just 8 seconds remaining as they go out of bounds. They come back to the center circle. 3-0 is the score. Marcos Eusebio of the Panthers in the lead, and the period will come to a close with that score. Dan Santiago will have choice here in the third period. And chooses the bottom position, as you can see indicated. Now you look over in the bench, Glenn Pazinko, I'm sure, knows what, how the score sets up right now, and yet he's still intense. He's looking out there, giving his encouragement, giving words of advice to Dan Santiago. And Santiago does come up for the escape, so whatever Glenn said was successful. He translated over to the action. Now, they danced around quite a bit in the second period without a lot of success, although Dan almost pulled off a head and arm as the headlock took Eusebio to the mat. Eusebio was able to get out of that because Dan did not have it all that tight. And it looks there like he slipped. Could not counter, and a takedown for Marcos Eusebio. Now, if there's no significant action, which is what we have there, I was just going to say the match should be stopped because Santiago's headgear was coming loose, and of course that can be a hazard should he get taken over to his back or just try to get out somewhere. But you really have to wait until there's no significant action. If the opponent is turning you over, well, you're caught in that. And unless it really becomes a danger to the wrestler, you keep going. They come back to the center circle. Dan Santiago down 5-1, gets up easily enough, trying to break the hands. He's got he turns. Eusebio still with the leg, so there is no change, no break. And they come back down, and they go out of bounds. Well, after a very quick start, with 2 first-period pins at 103 by Tony Ruperto and 112 by Nick Yanazzo, things have slowed down. We've had a couple of major decisions in there. The Bears certainly doing very well, winning the first 4 bouts. Filioto and Chris Yanazzo coming right after those 2 pins with victories. And it wasn't until 130 pounds when Edgar Feblis, in literally a repeat performance at the GMC quarterfinals, beat Ben Goddard in overtime. But we have gone pretty methodically after that with decisions throughout. The only other match won by the Panthers at 145 pounds when Alex Pardo lost to Felix Rodriguez, and Rodriguez probably, along with Tom Heidzik, the 2 best wrestlers for the Panthers. Just 45 seconds remaining in the last period. 5-1 is the score. Eusebio tried that half Nelson. It looked like Santiago was yielding a little bit, but fought it. He's got to come up to a base, and he's still got to fight that half. Eusebio continues to try to crank that. He's got the far wrist and the half. Ten seconds remaining, and in that position, he's not going to do an awful lot. He will come up with the victory, but it is a decision, as Dan Santiago picks up a reversal at the very end to lose by a 5-3 decision. But at that point, I think that does pretty much lock it up. If there was any question before, it does seem to be an insurmountable lead. Now, at this point right now, Mike Giordano was questioning something, I think, about the roll through, whether any back points. Nothing happened there. Coming out for the Panthers at 189 pounds, Danny DeJesus, 16-4 on the season. And a runner-up at the county tournament last Saturday, and he's going up against Adam Fleischauer just in his 3rd varsity match for the Bears, a freshman. So certainly on paper a mismatch. Almost came out of it, and it looked like he almost would have gotten caught there, but he fought it pretty well. DeJesus trying to crank that far side cradle. Not able to work it. And the escape. DeJesus may feel that since he got the takedown so easily, he'll just he'll try it again. Cranks him over. And a very quick pin. 56 seconds was the time in the first period. Danny DeJesus for the Panthers with a fall. Gives the Panthers 6 more points, and but they still trail by 16 with just 2 bouts remaining. Again, pretty good wrestler coming out for the Panthers. Junior Leo Mateo at 13-3 against one of the better wrestlers for the Bears as well at 2-15, Mike McManus. So this should be a real good tussle. As we're into the last two bouts, that left arm of Mateo very heavily wrapped, so I did not ask and was not given the information of what that might be. You know, while it's certainly a disadvantage for the wrestler who's got it taped up, obviously there's an injury there. It's also difficult for his opponent, because when you're used to grabbing or chopping in an arm and elbow, that's not there. You get that heavy padding. Mike tries that duck under and not able to get it. And a little rolling out of bounds there. They spin out. And Dick Smith talking to Mateo. I'm not exactly sure, or rather Mateo, I'm not sure what happened there. If he just took a little extra push, or just Dick thought he could stop before he hit him. The Bears will wrestle South River on Friday the 13th. They will wrestle Hillsborough, as A.D. Frank not saying on Saturday. Mike McManus gets that takedown and puts Mateo right over to his back. There is a count on back points. A lot of time remaining in this period. Mike McManus, and you can see the indication how far he is, maybe about 4 inches away. One shoulder is still up. Mike's got to come up a little bit, as he does there. Lift that head, pull up the forearm if he can get it. He has 35 seconds, and there it is. Mike McManus with the fall at 1 minute and 25 seconds. So that's the third time that the Bears have been able to record a first period pin tonight. Mike McManus raising his record to 13-3. 40-8 is the score right now. And it brings us to the final match, the 275-pound weight class, heavyweight, as it's sometimes still called, although more properly there is a weight limit. Tom Creel for the Bears at 5-10, a senior, against Jose Correa, 10-7 for the Panthers. Tom with only a 5-10 record, but has shown a tremendous amount of heart this year, and a lot of a tremendous improvement over where he stood last year. Correa very short, very stocky, but a 10-7 record, as we said. He took a 5th place at the GMCs over the weekend, beating Mark Tynow from South Brunswick in the 5th and 6th place match. If you were to look at Correa coming out of the mat, I don't think you'd guess that he was a 10-7 wrestler. And they come popping out of bounds there. Tom gave it a little extra, and he will be spoken to by Dick Smith. Minute gone by here in the first period. It looks like both wrestlers are going to try to go for a quick kill. Get that Russian, the double underhook, or something of that sort. Pop that guy down, and you've got 400 or so. Due to some technical difficulties, we have to apologize for not getting the end of the heavyweight match. In that match, Tom Creel did come through with a 2-1 victory over Jose Correa, and the final score for the Bears tonight was a 43-18 victory over the Panthers, as the Bears pick up their 3rd win of the season against 6 losses. Some very exciting matches, a good finish up for the Bears tonight on senior night. For everyone at Channel 8, I'm Bob Cancro. Thanks for watching.